Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning into this video, and please subscribe and please like, say very nice things. Now, you know, this series of conversations definitely really is targeted to young people coming into this business, people who have been in this business and maybe they need a little guidance. And I only really have conversations with people who have been very successful in show business. And you know what? If you just pay attention, this could be of tremendous help to you. Today, we have Mr. Ed DIXON. He is amazing. He wears several hats, that of a playwright, performer, composer. Did I leave anything out, Ed? What else? What did I leave out?
Teacher.
Teacher. That's right. This is important, like me. He's also a teacher. And he's done shows like The Scarlet Pimpernel, Les Miserables, Sunday in the Park with George, and it goes on and on. How you doing, Ed?
I am really good. This is a good day.
Good, good. I'm so happy that you're here. Now, we're just
too.
going to get, as you know, this is for young people watching. Either they've just graduated from college or they want to, you know, try their hand in show business, or they've been in show business, but things aren't quite working out for them and they need a little guidance. So, Ed, right off the top, what have you done to have such longevity?
Well, I kept living. And I've been many different people. I started in 1968, so you can imagine how different I am now from what I was then. I was selling one thing then, and then it changed to something else. By the time I was 30, that cute young man singer thing had run its course, and I began to realize that my life had to be about acting, not singing. And it had been about singing up until that point. And that was a huge change. And then about 40, I started to be a character man. And that was another huge change. And then at one point, I got rather large. And so then I sold myself as a large person. Then I got smaller. Then I got old. And when you take a show like My Fair Lady, which I've done thousands of times, I've worked my way through all the parts. I started off as Freddie and I ended up as Pickering.
Okay, so stop there for a minute, Ed. Let's get back to the singing. The singing didn't work out for you. Why didn't it work out?
Oh, no, I just kept singing. Except when I started, I was like a disembodied voice. I thought of myself as a voice. And being a voice is not a way to be in the theater. That was a misconception on my part.
But would you explain that you thought of yourself as a voice so that young people clearly understand what you're talking about?
I only thought about singing. That's all I thought about. That's all I care. But I was in the theater, but I still was thinking of it as singing. I had to have an awakening to realize that singing is great. It's great, but it isn't the whole ball of wax.
Okay, let's talk about that for a minute. Do you understand what he's saying for you young people watching? You cannot only just deal with what your forte is. For instance, for Ed, it was singing at the time. He didn't think about acting. He didn't think about dance. He didn't think about anything else but singing. And especially in today's theater, and even going back, say 20 to 25 years or even more, you cannot be a one-trick pony. You cannot. You have to broaden your horizons. If you are a singer, if that is your forte, take dance, take acting, learn about your body and what it can do for you, because the chances of you getting hired go up 20-fold. Okay, Ed, continue.
Well, that's pretty much it on that. I mean, I didn't understand that what I was doing was limited in the beginning. I thought Singing was so important. I couldn't understand why guys on either side of me were moving in front of me when I knew I sang better than they did. But I didn't see they're doing a whole picture. They've got a whole other thing going on there. And about 30, I started to really get serious about like rounding it out, turning.
Had someone said something to you about it, or you just came up with that on your own?
No, I just knew I wasn't getting what I wanted. When I was 20, I was cute. I could really sing high, and I got some really great gigs doing that, being cute and singing high.
All right.
And that's great. You know, if you can do that, that's great. But that's not the whole picture.
Not at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so did you start studying acting, or you went for,
I started studying, and I got myself involved in a lot of classes. And the most important thing, about 30, I took a thing called Samurai. It was a group of actors who met, I don't know, 3 times a week at 7 o'clock in the morning, and you couldn't miss. And if you missed, you'd be thrown out of the group, and you'd get assigned a sponsor, and they would hear the things you got to do. You promised you want to do this. Okay, we're going to hold you accountable. You got to do this. That was a very important, life-changing moment for me about getting serious about my career.
Okay. Let's talk about this for a minute. We're talking basically about discipline.
Yes.
Now, would you say as a singer you were disciplined?
I was, but I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to work on in the beginning. I had to figure out what to work on and then work. I don't think people are lazy. I don't think they know what to do.
Okay, but I'm talking about in terms of your work ethics. You may not have known in what direction you wanted to take your singing, but you don't strike me as a person that when you had rehearsals that you were late.
Oh, no.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Tell me about your work ethics.
I don't think I've ever been late for anything in my life.
Me either.
I'm usually early, sometimes stupid early. I am always prepared. I don't ever come into a job unless I'm off book. Like I come to the first rehearsal off book.
Let's stop there, darling. That means that when the director gave you something, or when the choreographer or musical director gave you something, you took it home and you worked on it so that you were that much ahead the next day when rehearsal would start.
No, so, I mean before rehearsal starts.
Oh, before rehearsal starts. You mean the first day of rehearsal?
When I get hired, I learn the script from beginning to end.
I'm the same way. Okay. But wait a minute, just stop right there.
Stop there.
Okay, what Ed is talking about and what I do, because we're similar in that respect. I learn everything, even though it's subject to change. You know, the writer decides, okay, I don't want this set like this. I'm going to rewrite it. And so you might have to memorize it again a whole different way.
Yes.
And the thing is, with doing that, you cannot get so fixed in your head that this is the way it is when you memorize it, because what have I said over and over again? You must, in theater, when you're doing plays, whatever, be able to change on a dime. Because just because you memorized it doesn't mean it's going to stay like that.
Stay like that.
Okay, but the key that you talked about, Ed, which I want young people hearing, is that be on time. And if you can't be on time, be early. But do not get in the habit of being late. Okay, let's just say, Ed, you had already memorized stuff. But even with new things or a new script that they gave you, or part of a script that they gave you that was new to you, you took it home and worked on it, right?
Yes.
There was no me time, meaning, okay, rehearsal was over at 6, so no, I don't have to worry about that script anymore.
Oh,
I don't think you did that, did you?
Oh, no, dear.
Explain what that is, how important that is, that there is no me time before a show opens, that you have to work on the script at home.
I mean, it's so unlikely that a person will get a role on Broadway it's so unlikely. If that happens, you need to do everything that you can to make sure that you live up to that opportunity.
Yes.
And even if you're auditioning for a Broadway show, you have to live up to that opportunity.
But I think it even goes further than that. It doesn't even have to be Broadway. I think
Mhm.
any two time you decide that you want to come into show business,
Yeah.
you must take it seriously, because what you have to understand is that there are a gazillion talented, great artists out there.
Yeah.
And where you fail and you don't live up to that contract that you signed, they will fire you and get the
Yeah.
next person in line. That's how this business is.
Yes.
Okay, Ed. All right. So you studied acting. Now, at that point when you were studying acting, and of course you were still singing, did you see things start to change for you?
Oh, yes. Yes. Yes.
Explain a bit about that.
I was always a big person on preparation, as we're talking about. But once you start to understand what acting really is, the way that you audition changes. And,
Yes.
people told me early on in my career, oh, you mustn't memorize the sides when you go. And I thought, oh, they're smart. They must. That is not true, in my opinion. I absolutely memorize the sides if I'm auditioning. And I sometimes will bring props. I will bring a costume. I don't expect them to have any imagination when I show up. I
Okay, but wait a
expect to
minute.
show them everything.
Are you talking about you would literally show up in costume?
N- I- let's say I need to be a particular kind of person. I won't have a costume from a show, but it could mean I
Close to it.
I would have to have a jacket. I couldn't come just in a shirt like this. Recently, I used a cane because I really felt that was important to what I was going to show them. And yeah,
Okay, so understand what Ed is saying. People auditioning you, the director, the musical director, the choreographer, they're not expecting you to come dressed exactly like that character that you're going in for. But neither should you be totally opposite.
yes,
Come close so
yes,
that so they can see a vision of you and they can envision you in that particular show. So you're kind of dressed close to the character, but
yes.
you do not have to go all the way.
No, no,
Now,
no, no. A
now tell
few
me,
years ago, I was called in for something. I had done the premiere out of town, and I was the voice on the demo. So, like when people were learning this show, they were learning a demo with my voice on it. But I got called in for a big version of it subsequently. Even though it was my voice on the demo, even though I had created it, I thought, I have to bring everything to this audition. I can't just trust they're going to get. That's the thing. I brought the cane. I thought he needs a cane. I had to have this number completely staged. I did not expect them to go, oh, Ed created it. He can do it. No, I walked into the room. I brought the whole show with me, and I said, this is how it goes.
hmm
And and
and
and they
here,
called me back. I had to go back and do it again because that's showbiz.
but I will say with that you are the quintessential professional. You went to that audition and you were prepared. So even though you viewers, you may not go to that length that he did, but either way, from the minute you walk into that door, they are looking at you. You must make a choice. Even when you see the sides, you don't know what the rest of the script is. You don't have the luxury of reading the whole script. So you must give those sides a backstory and come up with a choice or two and be convincing and have conviction about what you're going to do. You can't come in hemming and hawing. That means you got to work on those sides and know what you're going to do, even if the director never saw it the way you did or that
Yeah.
you're going to do it. Because maybe you bring a newness to it that they
Yeah.
may change their mind. So, but you have to go in and treat it. And I would venture to say, watching you in an audition is like watching a performance. It's not
It-
like
it-
watching an audition, it's like a performance.
Let me tell you something that happened. It was a show that I wrote, so I was sitting behind the desk watching the auditions, and we had put it out to all the casting directors. This is a period piece. It takes place in the 1700s, and it's English. So bring us something that's period and that has an English accent, either upper class or lower class. This woman walks in, she sings some hip modern song in an American accent. And I just sat there like, what the hell? And when she finished her song, she says, do you want to hear me do something else now? Maybe in English?
What did you all do? Say no.
And I said, no, thank you.
Do you understand what Ed just said? There, it's called a breakdown, and your agent will tell you what is needed. Now, you know, if something calls for this, why are you bringing that? I mean, heed what the breakdown and what your agent says. Don't go in opposite, because really all they're going to think is he or she, they don't take directions well. They want to do what they want to do. And let me tell you, I know there's a school of thought or whatever being taught in some of these workshops that, you know, you control that audition. No, you don't. You do not control that audition. What you control is that piece of music, those sides that you bring in. Be in control of that. But everything else you do not control. If they say this is what they want to see, then that's what you have to do. Okay, so Ed.
Let me tell you a little funny thing that happened. Also casting that show, I was sitting next to a famous casting director. This woman was singing. She was singing beautifully, and she looked interesting. And he leaned over and he drew a little rectangle at the bottom of her resume with a little hook on the top. It looked like a tiny little suitcase. And I thought, what the hell? And she walked out of the room, and I said, what does that mean? He says, it's a little signal I have. Too much baggage.
Ooh, snap. Oh my God, too much baggage. And do you remember what the audition was?
Yes, I do.
What was the audition? I mean, what did the person do wrong?
It was his previous experiences with her. He was saying he brings too much baggage.
Okay.
That's an important thing to know.
And had he worked with her before?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, Lord. Okay. Pay attention, guys. Pay attention. Pay attention. What Ed just said is this particular director had worked with that particular actress, and there were problems. Yes. Either she didn't do her homework, came in the next day ill-prepared, or either she was late. Whatever it was too much baggage. And he did not want to deal with that person again. So when we say to you, and it just takes really basically common sense. You know, in equity rehearsal, union rules, 10 to 6. So, you know, if you're a dancer, you get there earlier. Why? So you can warm up. Singer, get there earlier too, so you can warm up, because rehearsals start at 10. You cannot come in at 5 after 10, not even 2 and 3 minutes after 10, because they write all of that up. They put it in the computer and it's sent to the producer and the director. When you get staging, when you're rehearsing and things are staged, write it down. When you've gone over your music with the musical director, have your recorder. Don't ever go to rehearsal without a recorder. Don't ever do it. So that when you go home doing what you call your me time, but there is no me time, you will be able to rehearse what you have learned that day. Yes, you have your dinner. Yes, you chill out. Want a glass of wine, have that too. But at some point, you gotta pick up that script and you gotta listen to that recorder. All right, so
I want to talk about me time for a second.
Please.
I teach a lot, so I see a lot of young people, and I notice that some young people like to treat show business like they're a secretary, like they want to do as few hours as possible and take as much vacation as possible. Whereas you're the president of your company, and the president doesn't have days off, doesn't have evenings off, and is responsible for everything. If you're in show business, you're responsible for everything. There's no nighttime. There's no weekend. People say, have a nice weekend. I'm like, well, it'll be the same as yesterday. Thank you.
Yeah, that is so wonderfully put, because first of all, don't even think about coming into show business if it is not your passion, because you will die in show business. It won't work for you, because The powers that be, they can pick up on that if you're just there for money or if you're there because you really love it. And you have to love it because show business, there's no guarantee of a paycheck every week unless you land a hit Broadway show or you're on a tour. You may work one night or one week and you may not work for the next few months. So you have to love it coming in. But when you're there, do your best to be as professional as you possibly can. And this is what you're talking about, Ed. I mean, I love the idea, Ed. I don't know about you, but I love the process, the rehearsal process, because I get up in the middle of the night now. What were those lines? Ooh, what was that step? I mean, that is the joy. I have been up at 3 and 4 in the morning. And when you do that, ladies and gentlemen, not that we're telling you to do it, but listen, when you're on top of your game and you want to get that script and them songs down, that's what you're going to do. Trust me, when it's time for 10 out of 12, or you're going to be going into your first preview, you will be so ready. If you just treat this seriously, like you've been blessed to get this contract. Look at the amount of people that you beat out for that role, even as ensemble, as dance ensemble, understudy, swing. You beat other people out. So make the best of it.
I got to study with Helen Gallagher. She has a couple of Tony Awards. She was in No No Nanette with me in 1971 on Broadway. She won a Tony for that. I took her class and I started singing a song for her like I did in those days, staring off into space. And she started calling out to me what I would be seeing on every line of that song. Okay, now the trees part and you see the person you love, and the moonlight is coming down on her hair, and now she takes a step toward you, and then the clouds move away, and then whatever it was. She described every beat of it, and by the time she got to the end of that song, I thought, I will never see a song in the same way again.
Okay, because your eyes, you were painting pictures, basically.
Painting pictures.
In different places with your eyes, because you cannot, when they tell you, and many teachers tell young people because they don't know any better, or maybe they've never been performers or great performers, I should say, maybe not even good performers. You cannot paint a picture for your audience focusing in one spot in front of you. It's highly impossible. You want to give that audience something to look at. You want to communicate with that audience. You want to bring that audience into where you are in your mind's eye. You can't do that focusing on a spot in front of you. And Lord forbid if you don't move your arms. There are a lot of people who don't move their arms. So how did you find that? The next time you sang a song or whatever, did you put that to work?
Absolutely. And, it's funny. I wrote her a letter 30 or 40 years later. I said, that was the beginning of an awakening for me. Wow. And I've used it the rest of my life.
But Ed, why did you think in the beginning, when you did it on your own, that this is the way to perform? Is it because you saw someone else do it?
No, it's like I said earlier, when people don't know, they don't know. I wasn't lazy. I didn't know. I didn't know. And I hadn't been with somebody who said, honey, you're zoned out. You're not in the room. Get in the room. Okay, and, not everybody starts off as dumb as that, but that's where I started out.
Oh, it's not dumb. It's not dumb.
I didn't know. When you don't know, you don't know.
But the thing is, I think what's great about this is that you didn't know, innocently so, but because this great teacher who had been given many accolades, she told you, she directed you, see this, see that, see this, see all of these things. And when you do, we will see it as an audience.
She said another great thing to me in that class. I brought in some Feel Sorry for Myself love song. I was 20 and I sing it's very pretty. I sang it for her and she goes, Ed, it's not that you don't have these feelings. It's that nobody is going to pay you for these feelings.
Oh my goodness. So what kind of songs at that age did she suggest to you to learn?
Well, I was a young romantic lead at that time, so she did give me some romantic, but not one of those like, "Oh, you walked out on me, and I'm
Oh,
so
you done me wrong songs.
sad." Yes,
Oh, Ed.
yeah.
Okay, you have any closing remarks you want to say to these young people of
I just want
encouragement or
to
whatever you want?
say that it's hard to move to the front of the line, so you need to do everything that you can, do all the preparation that you can, study as hard as you can, and bring everything to that you possibly can to every audition because the person next to you just might be doing just that. You know.
What great advice. And remember, if you don't get the job, it's okay because it all boils down to are you the right type for this particular show?
It took me
But
a long time to realize that
me too.
every time went to a photo shoot, it was a learning session for how to have my photo taken. And because it's expensive, you don't notice that it's a class. Well, the same thing for the auditions. Every time you go, whether you get it or not, it's a class in
Yeah.
how to audition
And the thing,
every time. Yeah.
and also too, I think when you are really in tuned with your material that you are going to be delivering at that audition, this helps a lot with nervousness
Yes.
because you know it like you know your hand. You've made choices and now you're going to deliver it to the
When I
best.
go to an audition, I've worked it out at home. I
Hmm.
know where I am. I know what I'm seeing. There's a tree over there. There's a door over there. There's a person over there. And all of that comes in the room with me. So I'm not being looked at by those people in the room. I'm looking at those things that I set up in my house at home when I was working that out.
Yes.
I
And
bring all
also,
that with me. Yeah.
also in theater, when you come into audition, you look at them when you're saying your name and maybe what you're going to sing. After that,
Yes.
you don't break that fourth wall. You go straight to theater presentation. That means you do not look at the people auditioning you
Yes. Yes.
because you wouldn't do that in theater
That is
unless that
right.
particular piece was breaking the fourth wall, like
Yeah.
Five Guys Named Mo and Smokey
Yes.
Joe's Cafe. These are shows that break that fourth wall down and they're
Yeah.
dealing directly with the audience. Most theater is not that.
Yeah.
So you look at them when you say your name, and then after that, you take us, the
Yes.
people auditioning you, somewhere. Okay, also, let me ask you just one more thing. Have you sent in, I don't know, you might have not been doing so much of that lately, but did you have the opportunity to send in sides by doing it video at home or however you did it and send it into a casting person?
Oh, yes. I booked a couple of things during the shutdown this way. And let me tell you, I love it. For me to have the opportunity to control every aspect of it in my living room and
Yes.
not haul myself down to some casting office and meet every character guy I've ever met in my career in the lobby and then have to deal with that guy, whatever condition the casting director's in. To do it in my house and have control of exactly what the product that I love that.
I do too.
I hope it never comes back.
I do too. Okay, now tell me this so that we can give some guidance to them because there have been some bad coaches and teachers saying this, but after you slate,
Mhm.
looking directly at the camera,
Yes.
do you deliver your lines looking at the camera?
I did a thing recently where I was a man with Alzheimer's who's trying to talk to his daughter via Skype. So I could look right into the camera because that was what the setup of the situation was. She was on the other side of the camera and I was trying to speak to her
That's
through Skype.
different.
That's different. Yes.
But most
Otherwise,
times,
it's just like a theater audition.
yeah, you can't look at the camera, guys, unless it's a setup like what Ed just described. You either put, if it's one character, put him or she to
Yeah.
the left of the camera or to the right of the camera, just because you don't want to do this. Because
Yes.
you see what you
Yes.
get? You
Yes.
don't want to do
Yes.
that. So if you just put it, if think of it as a very small V, you
Yep.
put them either to the right or to left. And if it's two characters that you're dealing with, one is on the right, one is on the left, just the side of the camera, but never this.
Yes.
Because you don't see any movies where they're doing that unless it's a situation like what Ed just described.
And
And thank,
one other thing about the kind of audition songs. I often do songs of direct address because of the kind of parts I've played where I'm like talking directly to somebody. And so for the songs that I do that have direct address elements, I'll try to find one moment. Normally, I'm playing to whatever I'm playing to, but then I have a moment where I say, you know what I mean? That I will insert to say, you see, I really am this person who's doing a direct address. That is the only time I would ever look at somebody who's actually in the room.
Thank you, Ed,
Yes,
so much.
thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. It's such a pleasure to be with you. I've watched you so often. You're such a superstar, and I admire you so. And it's just great to have this moment with you.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you for all of the good advice that you have given to any person watching this who's just looking for guidance. He has had and still continues to have, and that is, a stellar career. And you know what? It wouldn't have been so if he didn't have great work ethics. So that, if you take away that from this conversation, is that you want to have really good work ethics. Be on time, do your homework, prepare, okay? So that that director won't say, uh-oh, too much baggage. Anyway, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you the next time. Wave
Thank you so much.
and
Thank you. Thank you.
bye.
Bye.